Yes, he lived in a barrel. In a time when philosophers were often cloaked in fine robes and esteemed in the halls of power, Diogenes took the road less traveled. He would bark at passers-by with unapologetic ferocity and make his presence known in the bustling streets of Athens, parading with a lantern in broad daylight. When questioned about his peculiar behavior, he would assert, "I'm looking for an honest man." He challenged societal norms with an audacity that was shocking. Kings were not spared from his scorn. He insulted them with abandon, mocked the very ideas of monumental thinkers like Plato, and even had the audacity to instruct the powerful Alexander the Great to step aside, arrogantly declaring that the king was blocking his precious sunlight. This was not the ramblings of madness, but the profound philosophy of Diogenes, who was the quintessential iconoclast and original savage of Western thought. Beneath the surface of his eccentric lifestyle lay a wellspring of piercing wisdom that challenged everything right from the structures of power, the allure of wealth, the burdens of ego, and even the very foundations of philosophy itself. He posed one of the most dangerous questions imaginable, cutting through the fabric of societal expectations. He asked, "Do you really need everything you've been told to want?" Join me as I delve into the life and philosophy of the man who unapologetically flipped civilization the middle finger and then humorously asked it to fetch him a bone. Diogenes of Sinope was born around 412 BCE in what is now modern-day Turkey. His journey into the annals of history began with a controversial act that led to his exile, possibly for defacing currency. It was then a figurative and literal slap in the face to the political norms of his time, and because of this he was exiled from Sinope. Once in Athens, instead of blending into the philosophical circles heavily draped in intellectual pretensions, he chose to disrupt the status quo. He opted for a life defined by poverty, simplicity, and an audacious shamelessness that many would find bewildering. Sleeping in a ceramic jar, what most refer to as a barrel, he frequently begged for sustenance, owned nothing of material value, and cared little about where he might relieve his bodily needs. This was not an erratic episode born from insanity. No, Diogenes was a staunch cynic, not in the modern sense of cynicism we often use today, but as a member of the ancient Greek school of cynicism, which emphasized living in accordance with nature rather than conforming to societal conventions. His thirst was not for material luxury, but for the unshackled freedom of existence itself. The term cynicism originates from the Greek word kynikos, meaning dog-like, an identity Diogenes embraced wholeheartedly. He perceived the world through a lens of harsh realism, believing that humanity had corrupted itself through greed, pride, and hypocrisy. People fervently pursued money, fame, and power, ultimately losing sight of their true nature along the way. In a brilliant act of defiance, Diogenes flipped the script entirely. By choosing to live like a dog, he aimed to illustrate what it meant to return to a more genuine, primal humanity. He famously stated, "I threw away my cup when I saw a child drinking from his hands." This was not merely performative, it was a potent act of protest against excess, pretension, and all that was superficial in life. What is particularly astonishing is that Diogenes did not pen down any philosophical texts or lengthy scrolls. Instead, he transformed his life itself into a philosophy, allowing every action, every caustic insult, and every audacious choice to serve as a potent lesson for those around him. Diogenes was not just a philosopher, he was a master performer of his own philosophy, wielding a sharp wit that could cut through the thickest layers of societal pretense. One of his most iconic moments came when Plato articulated his definition of man as a featherless biped. In a display of audacious genius, Diogenes waltzed into the academy with a plucked chicken in hand, proclaiming, "Behold, Plato's man!" The layers of irony were rich. It was a satirical commentary on the emptiness of philosophical jargon when it strayed far from the essence of truth. When inquiring about his preferred wine, his reply was cuttingly humorous. that which belongs to someone else. His interactions become ever more riveting when he encountered Alexander the Great, who, as the most powerful man in the known world, attempted to exert his influence. Upon offering Diogenes anything he desired, Diogenes' response was refreshingly simple. "Yes, step aside, you're blocking my sunlight." In that moment, the most powerful man in the world found himself humbled by a beggar's demand. Legend has it that Alexander remarked, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." This was not mere disrespect. It was a powerful act of defiance. A man with nothing, bravely standing up to emperors and societal elites alike, thereby shaking the foundations of status and pride. You might chuckle at Diogenes or consider him an extreme outlier. But take a moment to gaze at the world around you. Does it not echo with a resounding clarity? We find ourselves enmeshed in a fabric of artificial needs, shackled to status, drowning in surplus, and yearning for authentic connections that often feel out of reach. Diogenes was the ultimate minimalist before minimalism even became a buzzword. He didn't require a digital detox. He staged a radical departure from civilization itself. In a world clamoring for us to buy more, be more, look more, his voice was a gentle whisper that resonated deeply. Be less and be free. He serves as a modern-day reminder that wealth is not found in overflowing bank accounts, but in the richness of our experiences. We do not require legions of followers to have our voices heard. Sometimes the most potent act of rebellion is to live life simply, truthfully, and unapologetically, boldly sidestepping the expectations that seek to bind us. Diogenes passed away around 323 BCE. The accounts of his passing vary. Some say it was from eating food that didn't agree with him, while others mention he simply held his breath until he succumbed. In any case, he departed from this world as he lived, on his own uncompromising terms. No grand tomb, no elaborate memorial service, no lingering regrets to weigh him down. Only the raw essence of a life fully lived. His legacy perhaps lies not in dusty manuscripts, but in the whispers that circulate among rebels, minimalists, and free-spirited souls everywhere. Passed down from one nonconformist to another, the ethos of Diogenes reminds us that the next time societal pressures urge you to desire more, pause and reflect on the man who chose the path of nothingness and discovered everything that truly mattered. If you resonate with this call to question everything the world deems essential, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Because if Diogenes were around today, he might very well declare, "I am looking for an honest subscriber."